I mean, like, if you look at this, you're gonna know what it is. You're not gonna be like, well, where's the dice, Michelle? I don't know what it is without the dice. Michelle here, also known as Fancy Dinosaur Tea Party, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am attempting to make the Hellfire club shirt from Stranger Things Season 4. Right off the bat, without any confusion, this is not a tutorial, okay? This is not a tutorial. I'm not doing step by step. I am just going to be documenting my process of making this sweater. So if you want to make it, you'll know what I'm doing, but I'm not giving a step-by-step tutorial, okay? Just put a disclaimer right here. This is not a full-blown tutorial. Sometimes I just want to crochet things to crochet things. Okay. It is July and crocheting is not on the forefront of my mind. Sewing is. I've kind of like not really felt inspired to crochet anything. Then part 2 of Stranger Things Season 4 came out. Emotional damage. I don't know, it just hit me out of the blue. Mainly because I cannot acquire the shirt itself. They had it at Hot Topic. I didn't have money for it, and they no longer have it. I don't really buy things online anymore, so maybe eventually I'll buy the actual shirt online. I'm like, what if I crocheted it? I went to Michael's and I bought yarn. So I actually took my rose sweater, which I'll put right here so you can know what I'm talking about. I used that kind of as a mock-up. And when I mean mock-up, I mean the back piece is just all single crochets, and that's what I want to do for this project. So I'm like, I'll map it out with this. I'll map it out how the single crochets fall, how I liked it. I am actually making it just a little bit bigger than that. But the yarn I used is one of my favorite brands. It is the Impeccable by Loops and Threads that you can buy at Michael's. But like everything else out there, their prices jumped. I used to be able to buy a ball of that yarn for like $4. When I went in there, it was $6.99 for a ball of yarn. And I'm like, no. I'm not paying $7 for a ball of flippin' yarn. I don't have money for that. And this is a bigger project that I am gonna need multiple balls of yarn. If I needed like 3 balls of yarn, okay, I'll go with my Impeccable. That's not the case for this. So I went for my second favorite brand of yarn, which is this yarn right here. It is just Craftsmart Value yarn. Okay, it is 100% acrylic. It's what I use for everything. Also, I'm not going to be making a sweater out of wool. No. This yarn here was $4.99. $2 difference. Also, I'm pretty sure you get more yarn in this than you would in the Impeccable. I used this exact same brand for the checkerboard sweater that I made that turned out amazing. So I ended up buying 2 balls of the black yarn. I ended up buying a yellow, a red, and then I bought 3 white because white is going to be a very important color because it is the whole front and it is the whole back. So I'm like, you know what, I'll go 3 for the white. I may need to buy another black. We'll see how the sleeves go. So anyways, with the whole rant of why I had to switch colors, this yarn is slightly thicker, just ever so slightly. And because of that, it threw everything. That's the thing. Before this whole project, I had planned it out for the smaller yarn. It's not even that much of a difference, but it does make a difference. I really wanted to do the front first, but I am actually going to start with the back part of it first and then map out my design using that. But for now, I am just going to work on the front and the back, and we will see how this goes. This was my very first time planning out a pattern that I needed to crochet. So what I did is I started making a grid, and each square is 1 single crochet, and then I had to color everything in, and this was kind of like the tricky part, trying to figure out how I should map it out because again, it's more pixelated than the image, so that took quite a while to do. And then when I started coloring things in, it was kind of making a little bit more sense. But then what I ended up doing was I took that photo, and on a site on the internet, I found a pixelated website. So you put the photo in there and then it pixelates it, which made it so much easier to block it out. Once that was kind of, you know, working out for me, it was a little bit easier to figure out where I should you know, put the squares in. So this took me a few days to map out. Even what you're seeing now was not the finished image. Like, I had to go back and redo it so many times, especially the word Hellfire. I really just couldn't figure out how I wanted that to be done. I tried doing like the arch, which is on the logo, but I didn't really like it. And then I didn't want to do it a flat one either, like straight across. So I had to figure out how to make it on that arch, which was a little difficult. And what's so funny is that I thought the face was going to be the hard part. I think I spent more time trying to figure out
where the word Hellfire should go on the sweater.
Okay, so yesterday I finished doing the back piece here. It is again going to be a little bit oversized. I don't want a sweater that's too tight, and I think that was the problem with the rose sweaters, that it was just a little too tight for me. Going with a bigger fit. The way I did my measurements, this is the same size as the checkerboard sweater that I made, which I am absolutely in love with, and I love that fit so much better. So I learned my lesson from the rose square one, so when I was making the checkerboard one, I knew to make it a little bit bigger. And because I made it a little bit bigger, it fit perfectly. Doing the same for this. This is all single crochets. Also, I don't think I mentioned what I was using. The hook I am using is a 5mm US H8, and I know this yarn here does take a 5.5 or a US, I want to say it's I9. US I9, yes. I know that I probably should have used the 5.5mm US I9, but I just like this crochet hook much better. I like how it glides. Also, I did want to make this knit a little bit thicker, a little bit like tighter together, because it is going to be a sweater and it's going to be a little heavier. I just wanted it to be a little bit tighter because I don't really necessarily want to wear a shirt underneath this sweater, so I don't want it to be see-through. I want the knit to be more tighter together. I don't really think it matters if you use a 5.5 or a 5. This took a whole one of these. So this is 198 grams plus a little bit more, because I had to, where about was that? Right about here, I had to add in more yarn from a new ball. So like this down, like right there, you can see it like right there, right? This down is one of these. I bought 3 white. Might be able to get away with only using 2 white yarn. I can use this for everything, so it doesn't matter that I spent a little bit more money to get an extra ball yarn. That's okay. So anyways, this is just white. No fancy name for this. It's just white. It's not like snowball white or snowflake white. It's just white. And then the red that I'm using is called bright red, just black. And then the yellow is called butter. I actually had a yellow already and I was going to use it, but it was impeccable. Because it was impeccable and it's just a little bit smaller than this one, I had to go and buy a new yellow. Today I will be working on the front panel, so it's a good thing that I did this, because although I did plan out the whole graphic before I started making it, I was planning it out to the impeccable yarn. I had finished this, I did my count and everything like that, and then I kind of configured my drawing to fit this, because the front panel is going to be the exact same size. I did start on the front panel. This is how far I've gotten. That's it. So anyways, working on the second panel today, and I'm still debating if I want to do single crochets or double crochets for the sleeves.
I don't know how many times that I actually had to take this logo apart, but it was quite a few.
Okay, so I've made some progress on the front. I did a little bit yesterday. I didn't really record it because I was just kind of frustrated. I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out a few more little steps just to make sure that it looked okay. And I know there's a few things that I am going to have to tweak when I'm done. I think it's looking pretty good. So let me just show you what I got so far. This is the back of it. I know I probably could hide my strings better. It is what it is, you know? You get frustrated at a certain point and you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. I just want to get it done. Without further ado, let me just show you the front of it so far. So this is what it's looking like. It's looking pretty good, I think. I was like about here the other day, like just this down, and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be a disaster. What have I done? I probably should have made it bigger. But I think this is actually the perfect size, because I don't want the pattern to get lost on the sides here. I want it to be like the t-shirt. The t-shirt doesn't get lost on the sides when they wear it. So this would be right about, I think here on me, which isn't too bad because I still have to do the horns and then I still have to do the text. Where I might like change a few things is like this over here, right here. I probably should have done a few more stitches. Like in theory it looked good, but I think I should have done more stitches. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat it. Take the same black yarn and just kind of like sew it in just to fill up these little gaps there. I think that will be fine. I mean, like, it's handmade. I'm the one who was wearing it. This is what the inside looks like. I'm not aiming for perfection for this. Also, I find it hilarious that the very first time that I decided, hey, I'm gonna crochet an image onto something, it had to be one of the most complex images. It couldn't just be a simple dinosaur. That would have been easy. That would have been fun. I probably would have been done it. But no. I had to do this. Today I'm gonna continue working on the horns and the text, and then I can work on the sleeves. Also, I've come to a conclusion of what stitch I'm gonna do for the sleeves. I'm gonna do a half double. I don't know about anyone else out there, but the half double I just forget about it. Like I know the single and then I know the double, but I never do the half double. And I think the half double will be perfect for the sleeves. So then that way it's still bulky because I do want a nice bulky sweater for the fall, even though it is July right now. But I don't want it to be too thick like a single crochet, but I don't want it to be too loose like a double crochet. So I think a half double is perfect for the sleeves. I'm gonna continue crocheting the front piece and we'll see where we get today. So I want to give an update on the sweater project. Also, if you see me wearing the same clothes in multiple videos, it's because I'm filming them all at once. Because they're projects, right? So I'm going to work on a little project here, a little project there. I'm not that kind of person that's like, let's just focus on one project and then we'll move on. That's not my style. I work on multiple projects at once. So the sweater is actually coming along quite nicely. If you were to tell me, hey Michelle, how did you do this? I can't tell you. I'm just like in the crochet zone and I'm lost. And then when I come to, it looks like this and I'm like, how did I do that? Do you ever have those projects where you're like, how did I make this? How did I make it? That's this right now. On my Instagram stories, I did post a little poll about what I should do with the letters up top, because originally I was going to do it the same size font as the club here, which was just single rows of crochets. But then I was kind of thinking maybe the Hellfire should be thicker font, and the Hellfire thicker font is winning. So that's probably what I'm going to do, which means I have to take apart this last row here because I was going to start doing the thinner letters. Also, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to put the dice. If you're not familiar with this, I'll show a photo. But there's 2 dice in the corners. There's 2 dice. Die is die the plural of dice. But anyways, there's 2 of them in the corners, but they were just so tiny and intricate that I just didn't want to put it like in my grid because I didn't want them to turn out to be like all weird and blotchy and be like, why is that there? So we'll see how it looks in the end, and maybe I'll hand sew like with some yarn the dice. That'll probably look a little bit better. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna put it in there. I mean, like if you look at this, you're gonna know what it is. You're not gonna be like, well, where's the dice, Michelle? I don't know what it is without the dice. I think you're gonna get the gist of what I'm going for. Hopefully I will get the top done today, and tomorrow I can start the sleeves. So that's what I'm gonna work on today. So in theory, like on my page, the where Hellfire and Club meet, it looks okay. On this, I feel like this is just way too close. There needs more of a space, because there's 1 row of crocheted space between the L and the C, but I think there needs to be 2, which means I have to take this whole part off, which I've already taken apart 3 times. Well, this will be the 3rd time I've had to take this part off today. But yeah, I think there needs to be 2 spaces in here instead of 1, so everything just has to move up 1 row. I was really hoping I could get this done today, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. We'll have to see. Yesterday I got this far. I probably would have had this whole piece done, but unfortunately I kept messing up with the Hellfire part of it. At one point something got messed up here where it's off a little bit. I don't know how that happened, but it's fine. It looks okay to me. It's good. I'm good to go. But then that kind of like messed me up when I was trying to line this up. So then I had to take this apart at one point, and then I had gotten quite far up here, and then I realized that this L was way too close to this C, so I had to take all of it off. Part of me is like, maybe I should have lifted it up too. I'm not undoing this. I'm not undoing this. This is fine. I feel like I probably should have done a bigger arch. Like it would have been more of like a peak. I think it would have been more sharp, and I don't want that. I want it to be like a nice curve. So this is it. I mean, like I have to keep reminding myself that this is not the actual shirt. There's going to be many differences that I can't just beat myself up about it, you know? Gonna continue doing this today, and maybe I'll be able to start a sleeve today, even though I said I was going to start a sleeve 2 days ago, and it obviously didn't happen. So hopefully I can start a sleeve today after I get this done, and hopefully I can get this done. A little update on the sleeves. I've been working on just this one sleeve for the past like few days. I was going off of this measurement, but I've kind of run into a little bit of a problem. So here's the black sleeve, right? And if I fold that over, all of this here is extra. Like I didn't need to crochet any of that. I thought I did my math right, because when I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, that's 15 stitches. That's 15 stitches. So that's 30. And then that's 15. And that's 15. So that's also 30. So this is 60 stitches across, double crocheted. And this is the same yarn, like the same brand of yarn, the same weight of yarn. It's the same yarn. So I'm like, oh, well, if this sleeve like 60 chains across, then this also also should presumably be 60 chains across. I'm trying to figure this out because then I measured it, and this is like 16 inches across. This one is 22 inches across. I don't need any of this, and I tried to put this on my arm and it's way too big, so it's not like I can even just be like, oh, I'll go with a bigger sleeve. No, I have to now undo this sleeve, which I thought was going to be the easier part of this project. I have to undo this sleeve and I have to redo it. It's just not as many stitches. So I have to figure out how many stitches goes up to like 16, and then that's how many stitches I do across. Although, yes, it sucks that I have to take all this apart, but I'm making them smaller now, and because it's going to be smaller, it's going to take me less time to make. So hopefully I'll be able to get at least this sleeve redone today and maybe start on the next sleeve. I was so close to starting on the next sleeve right now. Also, like, can you tell I have cats? There's cat hair already all over this, so that's fun. I have to undo all this now. So this is the sleeve now. I took it all apart, rolled it back up in a ball, and now I'm gonna make another sleeve out of it. Fun. All right, so I have all the pieces done now. I have the front piece, I have the back piece, and then I have the sleeves. Let me tell you, I did not understand what I did wrong, and I still don't quite understand. Here I am, had to redo one of the sleeves, but they're both done now. It is Wednesday evening. I just did my hair, so I'm not camera friendly at the moment. The sleeve threw me back a day. I should have probably had this all attached by now, and I probably should have had the sleeves all done. These little buggers right here threw me off. What I'm gonna do tonight is I'm going to just attach it this way, and then I'm gonna attach one sleeve. So I'm gonna attach it all down here, and then this is all gonna get folded. This is also gonna get folded like that, and then I'm going to stitch this up, and then I'm going to do ribbing on the end, and I'm going to do the ribbing in the white. It's really good that I bought 3 balls of white. This is how much white I have left after doing the front and the back. This is the second ball of yarn that I used. So I think I'm going to be okay with the black though, because I do need to do black ribbing on the bottom here, and I have to do black ribbing on the top here. I think I'll be good with that. Also, it's like, how amazing is that this is like actually turning into a sweater right now? I'm very excited. Tomorrow I'll catch back up with y'all and I'll show you what I did. We'll work on the other side tomorrow, and we'll work on the bottom ribbing, and we'll work on the top ribbing for the neckline. So that's it for tonight. Okay, it's been a while since I've done anything like back on camera. I have not really been on camera in a while because I've just been kind of documenting my progress. So today is now Thursday. I don't know what day this is out of this whole project, but last night I did get the one sleeve on, and then I did say that I wanted to do the ribbing. Well, something occurred and I couldn't do it. Problem that I'm kind of running into now, and it's not so much like a problem, it's just when you do crocheted sweaters, because they are more blocky, more boxy, what ends up happening is that this becomes part of the sleeve, and you wouldn't really notice it, say this one here, because the pattern, I always have to put stuff in my mouth, my goodness, continues, right? So like this part here is actually part of the sleeve when I wear it, but because it's the same pattern, you don't really notice it, and that's the same with all the other cardigans and sweaters that I've made, whereas this one, it's such a drastic difference. Let me just show you. Honestly, I love these like clips because I can just clip it and then it's not going to move. So if you can see, right, my shoulder is up here, so all of this is my arm. So when I put my arm down, it continues that way. And the only other way that I think I could have avoided this, maybe mapped it out so all this I would have crocheted in black. The other thing is make it like a vest, where you go up a certain point and then you start like decreasing stitches up here, so it's more of like an arch like you would see on a normal sweater or like a normal like shirt kind of thing. Really wish this was black. It's just the only thing that if I were to decide, hey, you know what, I'm gonna change it up. It's not like sewing. It's not like I could just cut this off. Can't do that. I would have to undo like the whole word Hellfire. I would have to unstitch all of that, and I've already had to undo it like 3-4 times, so I don't want to do it again. And then the other option would have been make it smaller, but I don't want it smaller. That's the problem. I don't want it too small because already, as you can see, I'm already kind of losing the E over on the side, and I don't really want that to happen. And that's the thing of why I didn't really make this video a tutorial, because I don't know what I'm doing for this project, okay? I don't know what I'm doing. doing. So I didn't want to lead you down a path that goes absolutely nowhere. Like, I think this is still okay. If in the future that it bothers me so much, maybe I'll take it apart. Because what's really great about crochet projects, it's just, you just have to find where you attached it and then you can just pull it apart. That being said, I mean, it is what it is and I'm okay with it for now. And now what I gotta do is I gotta do the exact same thing to, clearly this side, and then I have to do the cuff. Now, this is why I didn't do the cuff yesterday. All the yarn that I bought is all the same. It's all the Craftsmart Value, all of it. I knew I wasn't gonna have enough white, so last week when I was buying the red and yellow colors, which I didn't have, I ended up picking up another ball of white yarn. The only problem is when I bought it, when I was looking at it, something seemed off and I couldn't figure out what was off about it. It's this ball here. That's the thing, is like I rolled it up already and I already started using it and then I realized something just wasn't right with it. So I can't return it. I'm okay that I wasn't able to return it. Would it have been nice? Yes. This yarn feels silky and it's not supposed to be silky. So this is the yarn that I picked up today, and then this is the ball that I picked up. This one's shinier and then this one's more dull, and it's just weird. I think it was just the batch of yarn, because when I went to buy the yarn, it looked exactly like this, but it was a little bit smaller. It was a little bit lighter. The yarn thickness was a little bit different, even though it was the same brand. It had the same information on it. All the white looked like this. And then I was thinking, what if this is just the direction that this yarn company is going to go into and they're not going to make it how this one was made? So that was a thing. Anyways, back to the whole point of why I'm ranting about this yarn. The whole reason I didn't do the cuffs is because I started doing the cuffs. And using this yarn, it felt too thin and it just was not looking right. It didn't have the same consistency as this white. So then today after work, I ended up buying this one, because in my head, I'm like, Michelle, you're just not going to be happy with using this yarn. So I ended up buying this yarn. I would have had this whole left side done had it not been for the yarn situation. That's the whole yarn fiasco of 2022. So I'm going to attach this sleeve onto here. I'm going to work on the cuffs today and I'm going to work on the ribbing, and that is it for the sweater. Let's put this together now. I attached it with white, like attaching the sleeve with the white, and then I also went down the side with the white as well, and now with the black yarn, I'm going to attach the sleeve. Also, I'm doing this all inside out. Another little trick I like to do is I like to take hair clips and just clip them, so that way they line up nicely. There we go. Now, I always have the habit of making my ribbing way too small, and that's because when I first make my chain, where I start the ribbing, it just seems super, super long. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's gonna be too long. I gotta make it shorter. But what ends up happening is that it squishes down. I just finished the cuffs. So if you look at that and you look at this, look at how much height it loses. I'm just gonna stretch this out a little bit. The more you wear it, the more stretched out it gets. It lost even more height. Now, I am gonna link a video if you are really interested in learning how to do the ribbing. I do a lot of ribbing tutorials in most of my sweater videos, but because this is not a tutorial, I didn't include it today. But if you are really interested, I will put up here and in the description the checkerboard sweater that I did. Definitely check out that video because I go in a lot more detail about how to do it. So anywho, last thing I have to do is I'm doing the ribbing at the bottom, and then I just have to do the ribbing at the top, but then that should do it for this sweater. And I am really excited for September when I can actually wear this outside, because right now it is so stinking hot out. So okay, so I kind of ran into a little, just a little bit of a problem. The front is almost done and it's so tiny that this is not going to fit over my waist. I think the problem is that I'm doing the exact same as this one, but the problem is because there's only 70 crochets, like 70 stitches on both sides of this one, but this one had 90. So because it had 20 more stitches, this much more on each side, I could get away with doing this because there's more room. Obviously this stretched out over time, but I think this is like way too tight. I am gonna have to take all of this off. Am I happy about having to take all of it off? Absolutely not. Although I have nothing else to do. Current time, it's 7:30. I'm watching the Great British Bake Off show. It's not like I have anything else to do on a Thursday night. So I'm gonna take all of this off and redo it, do some math, and then continue working on it.
I also came into the same problem for the collar. I had made it way too small that my head would not be able to fit into it. So I had to take the collar apart as well and redo that.
right, it's done. I still can't believe that I made this. Like, it's just so strange that I actually made this, because this is the first time that I've ever made anything that like was this intricate. Before it was like granny squares or just single crochets, basic stuff. And then I'm like, I'm gonna make this, and it's either going to be amazing or it's going to break me. And I did a little bit of both. Not gonna lie, I did struggle a little bit, especially with the placement of the word Hellfire. Oh boy, that was fun. I think overall it's really cute. It just, the only thing is that it is very heavy right now because it is the middle of July and we've had the hottest weather that I can remember. Here I am making myself a crocheted sweater. Yeah, and what's so funny is the whole reason why I had made this is because I couldn't get my hands on the shirt version, and then I did get one. So I have this for the fall, and then I have the shirt version for like the summer, although maybe not right now, but you know, for the warmer weather I can wear the other one, and for the cooler weather I can wear this. Let's go over a few little things. Now that I have the wrists on and the collar part on, this shoulder part isn't bothering me too much. It's not bothering me as much as it did when I didn't have all like the trim on. I wish I would have done it where the black went all the way up here. I think that would have looked really cool. It is what it is. It's a crocheted item. It's not a sewn item. Also, I think that if I were to have made like this a lot smaller, then of course this would have all been taken out and then the arms would have went higher, but I wanted the boxier fit. I think the words and like the way like when I put my arms down, I feel like you can still see everything even though it kind of get like bunched up. I feel like you can like, you know what this is if you know what it is. I also really like the size of this. I didn't want to go too big, but also I didn't want to go too small because if it was too small then it would just look weird. But I didn't want to go too big. What would end up happening is that the Hellfire would be over here and then when I put my arm down, like the letters would get lost, right? So that was like a whole challenge on its own. And what's so funny is when I started making this, like when I was like down here, like just starting the bottom of his face, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be way too small. I should have made it bigger, but I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. Thank goodness I did not make it any bigger. If I would have made it any bigger, again, the details would have got lost on the sides. And there's nothing I really could have done about that. It's just the way it sits on me. I think the sleeves are a good length. I like that. I always make my sleeves a little bit shorter because I love the bigger cuff on it. And then like over time, the cuff will shrink a little bit, and that goes for the collar and of course the bottom part. Now, the only other thing that I might change, I know I just made it, but I might change it depending on how I feel when I can start wearing it, because there's no way I'm walking outside the house in this. Even though I want to wear it every single day. I can't, otherwise I will die of the heat because it's too hot outside to wear it. I think that the bottom ribbing could have been a little bit looser. Like if I stand up, like it's a little tight right here. I have faith in the process because my other projects, I've done the same on the bottom and eventually it does loosen up. So I'm gonna give it a few wears when I can start wearing it, see if that bottom ribbing like stretches out a little bit. So here's the thing, I would like to sell the pattern that I made for this. I just don't know how to go about writing a pattern. I've never written a pattern before. Usually like my tutorials, I go step by step by step so you can like follow along, but because this was not a tutorial, because I didn't know what I was doing, it's like I do want to start a Patreon where I just post all the diagrams, all the steps, all the patterns for all my crochet projects. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about, but that's not going to be for a while because I have to figure out actually how to write a crochet pattern, because again, I just make it up in my head and then go from there. That will do it for this video. If you are new to my channel and you like sewing, crafting, crocheting, and thrifting, why not hit that subscribe button? You can also follow me on my Instagram and my TikTok, which is Fancy Dinosaur Tea Party. I think that is it, so y'all have a good day now.